Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Aliens and Angels podcast. Today, I have a special guest and co host, Don Rogers. Just to give you a little bit of background on him, in September of 2023, Don started having a succession of nightmares and memories of intergalactic warfare. And some of these events seem to be happening in the future. Don contacted Robert Khalil of the Typical Skeptic podcast, where he was given the opportunity to be put into hypnotic regression. And then everything started to make sense to him, and he truly began his spiritual awakening. So today is our first Q&A community chat. Please post your questions and your comments in the live chat. And to find out more about Don Rogers and his journey, all the links are featured below in the description. Check us out, subscribe to our channels, leave us some comments, like our videos, and share our content with your friends. So without further ado, here is the intro. Yeah, so that beautiful intro was done for me by Anthony Essempler and Andy Gambino from the S4 Unidentified channel. Thank you so much. Shout out to them. And I guess it's time to bring on my guest, Don Rogers.
Hello.
Don, how you doing?
Oh, pretty good. I can't seem to put my hat on properly. It was crooked as heck there for a second. Um, Pretty good. Just going day by day. Some major energetic shifts going on in our lives right now, but things are all good. How are you doing over there?
Oh, pretty good, about the same. So for those of you who were watching, I had Dawn on as guest on my show, the Quantum Guide Show on Wednesday. So please do go and check that out. We got into quite a lot about Dawn's experiences with the secret space program and different things related to that. So since then, Dawn and I've also been doing a lot of research for an upcoming show on the Quantum Guide Show, the third Wednesday in June, where we're going to be talking about simulation theory. So that's really interesting. And what else? Oh, Dawn, just tell everyone about your show you did on Friday night with, oops, I can't remember her name.
Oh,
Nunez,
Jennifer Noonan.
Jennifer
Yes.
Nunez. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm gonna spill the beans actually on your show before I do even on mine because I haven't got the episode to air yet. Um, my show, the After Dark show with Don Rogers, has been tentatively and looking like probably the first episode will air on Wednesday by the Forbidden Knowledge News Network. And that's the After Dark show with me, Don Rogers. And on Friday, I had a amazing guest who is coming into her own experiences about the secret space program is Jennifer Nunez. And her and I have some very similar experiences post awakening. It seems to be a lot of the time when people come online to this secret space program, you either get encapsulated in it and it becomes almost an obsession, or it opens your mind to a whole world of possibilities, of things that we don't generally accept as part of our day to day life, such as like energetic awareness, spirituality, those types of things. And that's where Jennifer has really managed to meld these two things. She has a school that she started called Rise University, and it basically teaches people how to amalgamate their spiritual awakening, metaphysical beliefs, and three-dimensional reality into what can be, you're still doing what you're believing in, but you're being monetized for what you're doing. And it's just a beautiful way, because like as well as I do, things cost money. Like, you have to pay for your Zoom meetings, you have to pay for your Dropbox, you have to pay for this, you have to pay for that. And I think what she's doing is really going to help those of us that are in the middle of our awakening, because she is providing some amazing information on how to bring everything together when you're having your spiritual awakening, and if you want to make it part of your financial life as well.
That's very interesting. Yeah. So, wow. Yeah. So I recommend you check out Dawn's channel, and again, the links will be below. So you asked me how I was doing. I've been doing pretty good lately, but again, last night I had another, I'm just going to call it loosely an attack. I don't know exactly what happens, but I've been experiencing this for about 5 years, and it seems to be happening lately less often, like about maybe once or twice a month, as that's what I mean by less often. And it happens to me when I am in not just a deep dream state, but also often while I'm having transdimensional adventures and experiences. And the physical sensation, I don't really have much of a mental sensation, but the physical sensation is a very intense, every cell of my body like a pulsing buzz. And it's actually not comfortable. And it's combined with heat. I feel like I'm throwing off a lot of heat to the point of being very uncomfortable, kick all my covers off. And every cell in my body goes completely rigid, and the pulse is maintained for like 30 to 50 seconds, sometimes a minute, quite a long time. When you're going through it, it seems like a long time, and then all of a sudden it releases, but it only releases for like half a second, and then the pulse goes back on. And I've experienced it in my deep dream state, also as I'm waking up, because it tends to wake me up as I'm getting closer and closer to becoming conscious again. I'm experiencing it. And then when I am fully awake, I'm still experiencing it. And I'm just wondering if anyone else has had that experience. And Dawn, I'm wondering if you've ever had that. Now, I've heard that sometimes when you have out of body experiences, you get an intense buzzing and in every cell of your body before you let go. And I don't know if it's tied into that, or if it's some kind of technology interference, or if it's from it's not even happening at the same time that our smart meters go off. So I know it's not that. I don't know. It's the weirdest thing. So I had it again early this morning, and it was very intense. And I just thought I'd bring it up, see if anyone else is having that experience, and get your thoughts on it, Dawn.
Actually, I do have something that I would almost compare similar, and I have to ask you a very silly question that shows you, you know, how cautious I was as a young lad. Have you ever licked a 9-volt battery?
Oh, lots of times.
Okay, is the sensation you're describing like that, a little more intense, but through your entire body?
Yes and no. It is very much like that. It's my entire body, but it's a much lower frequency. When I touch my tongue to one of those square batteries, where you get both anode and cathode or whatever together, you know how you get a shock on your tongue. But it's a fairly high frequency feeling, and this is a very low penetrating frequency feeling. But besides that, it's very similar. Yes.
That actually, and I, again, not medical advice. I'm just explaining my story because Karen asked me a question. When I went off venlafaxine and my neurological chemistry was rebalancing, I would get pulsing, like low pulsing tones, even right in through my tongue, because like something inside of me, my energetic frequency was realigning. I could literally feel my pulse in a painful sensation through the majority of my body because of my, like I said, neurological chemistry restructuring in the ways it was and withdrawing from the pharmaceuticals. And I don't know, it may be a physiological chemistry thing, or I did notice when we visited that you live in an area with some towers around you, and I'll go get my tinfoil hat and put it on if you want. It wouldn't surprise me that there are things being radiated in high density neighborhoods, because what better way to experiment than on a rural population, or a population, a general population, suburban. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, maybe. But the other thing I wanted to say is I actually have slept with a tinfoil hat on to see if it helped. And it actually did seem to help, but it's hard to keep it on when you're sleeping. So I have a EMF proof hat that I bought from Rex Bear from Leak Project. He sells them. It's got a liner that protects your brain from high frequencies and low frequencies. But again, the trick is getting the hat to stay on while you're sleeping. But I don't want to have to sleep with a hat on. And I don't even really have to figure out what's going on, but it's definitely going on. And it's definitely tied into my transdimensional experiences. So my dream states are different when I'm having this happen. And then usually the physical sensation is what wakes me up. It's in my whole body, from my head to my toes. It's every cell in my body. And I can feel my body go rigid while it's having the pulse. And then when it has the half a second release, it's like a falling feeling where it's like I fall and I lose all that tension. Then it happens again and it builds back up again. And I have also had, while I'm having that experience, some lucid dreams where I'm being asked permission to do things to me. And I never say actually yes or no. What I always do is, what exactly would that look like? What exactly are you talking about? What exactly would be the effect about? And I'm really happy that I can remain that lucid and cheeky while I'm having those experiences. And then eventually the request just disappears and it no longer exists. So I thought that was pretty strange too.
Yeah, and I I love that you go into the transdimensional and that type of experience, because I don't know if there's a live audience, but somebody will watch it in the future. For anybody that hasn't caught it, Kara and I both share experiences in which we've lived other long-term realities in very, well, it's time dilation. I'll simplify. I'm not going to over-explain it or mansplain it for you. It's time dilation. You go to a different stage of your consciousness, or even a different existence of your consciousness, for a brief period of time, be it night by night like Karen's, or in a single night like mine. And basically, you can experience, myself, I experienced 5 years of schooling in one night. Karen experienced 3 month or 3 years of training or experience in 3 months. These things all happen because time exists in our reality and not in the astral reality. It's a human concept, and once you get into your conscious states that are beyond your human body, things are a little more malleable, and we can go outside of this constraint of time into this larger bubble of, for myself it was 5 years, and then right back into the next day of this piece of time, because we made it up.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I just finished watching a show this morning. I sent you the link, Don. I know you haven't had time to watch it yet. Ties in very closely to simulation theory. And apparently, we have the ability to go anywhere inside and outside of time and space through our consciousness. And of course, the military has picked it up and they're doing their own investigations into that. And they also basically explain in scientific terms how really nothing is real. It's all a hologram that we project from inside our minds. We construct it. So there is no solid matter. All there is things vibrating at different speeds and different frequencies. That's all there is. But we perceive it as solid. And of course, you know, if you fall off a cliff, you probably would crash and die. So there are some real life consequences, obviously. But at the same time, you know, as we perceive time and space does not exist. And the other thing is that so we can go anywhere we want. That's why we can do astral projection. That's why we can do trans-dimensional experiences like Dawn and I. That's why we can do remote viewing. That's why we can see in the future. That's why we can change the past. So all of these things I find very exciting to think about and talk about. And there's so much more than what we're led to believe. I mean, we really are in a matrix where they tell us that none of those things are true. And, you know, we got to deal with the chips we're thrown and, you know, all that other stuff. And of course, the matrix also teaches us that we're dirty, diseased, and are not worth anything more than, you know, we get what we deserve, which is usually not much. And this is all my opinion, by the way. I got to watch the algorithms because I'm being scrutinized by YouTube and I'm constantly having strikes against me. And I did their training video this morning to find out, you know, how to word things. So I can speak from my own experience and I can say in my opinion, but I certainly can't state anything as being a fact because everything that's a fact in my reality, and this is according to my experience, I have to say that, is actually considered not true in the matrix. And YouTube is part of the matrix. Oh, I guess I probably shouldn't have said that either. I don't know what to say. I take one foot out of my mouth and I'm putting another foot in. This is all my opinion and conjecture. None of this is fact. There. I hope that helps.
Well, yeah, and I worry about the same things you do because you know I'm just waiting for my first one. But no, I full-heartedly agree with you that we do create our reality, and it's an absolutely, in my opinion, it's an absolutely masterful enslavement that they've pulled off here because they've developed a system that they call society and employment and mortgages and all of these things to distract you from the wonderful abilities that we actually have. And then if you actually have enough time to be able to think for yourself, they will feed you and implement toxic poisonous things into your society and into your air. Again, this is all my opinion, but it's
Thank
a
you.
wonderful thing that I've picked up on out of your course. The quantum health transformation really brings to light all of these the barrage of distractions and toxicities and things that are just coated on us like a thick layer of grossness and keeps us from being in tune with our higher selves energies and abilities. And I think that is part of the matrix game that a lot of us need to be a little more aware of. And that's where I will tout your program very highly, that everybody should at least give it a look because it'll change your perception at least one nub. And you need to check the program out to get it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Don. Yeah, that's great that you reminded everyone about that. So we just finished this spring. I completely overhauled the program and recreated it into the Quantum Health Transformation version 3.0. It's labeled as being for healers and alternative healing professionals, but that actually includes all of us, whether we're paid or not paid as healers, because in a way we're all healers, even if we're just healing ourselves. And I just overhauled 360 pages that form 12 PDFs. and I did 12 video tutorials that are up on YouTube and my website. And then, of course, Don and his partners, Canadian Spinja, and their son Ray participated in the workshop series, and that's 13 separate videos. So there's a wealth of information. It's absolutely free. Please do visit my website and check out the playlist on YouTube if you want to hear more about it. And it's basically everything that I needed to know when I was going through my awakening process. Because you just don't know, and there is a lot of misinformation out there, and I'm sure some of it's just different perspectives, but some of it's scary, and you can really get lost going down the rabbit holes. And it's nice to find a way to orient yourself, so that you have faith in your own understanding, and that the learning and the knowledge really comes from within, not from without. And so I was really glad that Don, you and Spin and Ray joined me in this adventure. And I believe it's really worthwhile. And I've done the program several times. I'm always doing it. I used to you start at step 9 and you work your way through to step 1. And I used to do it that way in sequence the first 2, 3 times through. But now I find I'm always working on maybe 2 or 3 different steps at the same time. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. So
And
yeah, so oh, go ahead, Dawn.
I was just going to say it actually coincides with something you asked earlier about the episode that I had with Jennifer Nunes. That episode aired on Friday, and I actually had somebody from here in Alberta contact me because they are just becoming aware of their own SSP memories and experiences. And absolutely check out the quantum health transformation when you're coming online spiritually. But I was just wondering, because she asked me a very poignant and hard question, is like, if you knew somebody was coming online with their memories at first, what would you tell them about the SSP, and where would you point them? Because I gave them your channel, I gave them Rob's channel, I gave them all of the references that I've been using. But what would you suggest for somebody just becoming aware of extra dimensional, the
Well,
experiences you and I have?
yeah. Well, for sure, I would recommend them to your channel, Dawn, which is March 4th, and it's the number 4 TH Productions with an S on the end, and Dawn Rogers. I would really recommend that, because you, being a newly awakened person, you can talk about what it's like in the beginning, what you're going through, how you're evolving, how your life is shaping up, and I'm sure a lot of people that will resonate with them. But then I would also refer them to Forbidden Knowledge News, which is also the Forbidden Knowledge Network, to find everything Chris Matthew has and the different people on his network that will really help open people's minds and see what's going on. And then, of course, Typical Skeptic podcast, for sure. For sure, absolutely. Oh, we got Spin in the house. Hi, Spin. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. And so those would be the 3 that I would recommend, to be honest with you. And then, of course, I would recommend my own channel. And I have the Quantum Guide show once a week, every Wednesday that comes out. I think I'll be switching over to StreamYard for that, so I can take comments from the viewers, and well, at least from the viewers. I guess the listeners are going to get this as a replay. And then, of course, Aliens and Angels. So Aliens and Angels, we're going to get into all kinds of topics. Next week, I'm going to be on by myself, give Don a rest, because he's been on my shows quite a bit lately. And it's all going to be about our aliens working with humans. So before I get into that, I'll just turn the floor back over to you, Don.
Well, now you've just got my head into our aliens working with humans and that whole subject. So that I definitely want to catch. But oh poop, they did it to me again. I just blanked out.
Oh, that's okay. So basically, what I'm going to get into next week is, please feel free to jump back in when it comes back to you. But what we're going to talk about is how remote viewers have seen all kinds of subterranean, what we would consider aliens or even grays, which are not coming from a different star system or off world. They're actually here and have these bases. And apparently they've got habitats, communities, and bases that have been here for thousands of years. But when the remote viewers are viewing these and finding them, they're finding out that they're working hand in hand with the human military. It looks like the American military or military industrial complex. And I'm not stating any of this as fact. Geez, I hate having to qualify myself, but I really don't want to lose my channel or the shows. Anyway,
Yeah.
and so then there's also the whole idea of UFOs. There's the whole idea of man-made, back engineered UFOs, and then there's UFOs that are coming from other dimensions, other places, other star systems. It's very complex, but over and over again, I see all this evidence that they've been working with humans for some time, like over 70 years. And one other thing I'll say about that we'll talk about next week on the show is that, oh, now I had a brain fart. So I'll just turn it back over to you, Don, until I remember.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. I think they're doing it to us on purpose. That you're talking about the different concepts of even aliens and other beings and stuff. And one that I always seem to go back to is the limitations of our own like visual sight. Like we are very, very limited on what we can see, even in our color spectrum. So if you go beyond the accepted principle that we only have so much use for our brain and actually develop the other five senses that we actually have, right? We know the basic ones, but we were actually born with 10 senses, my opinion. Um, if you were to develop your sense of the other densities again, and you would eventually become aware of the higher density creatures that they are interacting with, my opinion, the government is interacting with higher density creatures because they have been developing the technology to be able to see them for decades. It's even been spilled over to social media that a private scientist developed a pair of glasses that could see different densities, and it scared the shit out of them. Like it's not new technology, it's not new concept, it's just new to knowledge because we have the internet now. That's why they're fact checking, censorship, controlling, whatever you want to call it, so much because everybody can tell everybody anything now. And it was a
Mm-hmm.
lot easier for everybody to keep their dirty little secrets when I couldn't talk to Karen, who's 2 hours from me, with the push of a button and I could see her face to catch the expression on whether or not she believed me that the thing I just saw in my house was real. And we can
Yeah.
sit and talk about scientific principles, and I can look up one of the rarest books in the world and find esoteric knowledge. This
Yeah.
terrifies the people that are in control.
Yeah. I would agree with that. So I just remembered what I forgot earlier when I had my brain fart. And that is, the other thing is, it's interesting. Um, oops. Hi, Arizona Raven. Welcome to the show. So nice of you. Making bacon, literally. Yum, yum. Um, uh, what I noticed is there are a lot of people who have positive ET contact experiences and a lot who have negative. But seems to me that a lot of the negative experiences are also tied into aliens working with humans. There seems to be some human military presence. Often these people are transported initially, abducted, and this is the difference between. There's a difference between contact and abductees, huge difference. So I'm talking about abductees now. And they're transported somewhere, but then they end up going subterranean on the earth, into tunnels, into underground facilities, into dumps, and there is a human presence there, as well as there's a human presence there, as well as well, I'll just say, quote, aliens, because like I said, I don't know if they're been here thousands of years, live subterraneously or in the ocean, under the oceans. I don't know. It's quite complex, right? So I thought that was interesting. And contactees are different. Sometimes it's CE5, like myself, where I initiated contact. Uh, Dawn, I think in the beginning yours wasn't CE5, but at the same time, it's mixed, positive and negative. But it's just really interesting to see how a lot of these really negative, scary experiences seem to be tied in with the industrial military complex. Do you have any thoughts on that, Don?
I do, and I'm glad because you actually brought back what I forgot earlier was I almost said farted again, but then I just said it anyway. Um, you just got to it there. Like I know there are some horrible things that have had happened to people in super soldier programs and terrible memories and disgusting, deplorable acts done to people's consciousness in the secret space program. But it's not all like that. So if you are waking up and you start to get this stuff, don't be terrified because I don't want to simplify it, but it's not in this existence. And I don't mean don't worry about it. Absolutely explore it. But it's not all horrifying. It's not all SRA. It's not all torture. The program that I've regained my memories for is actually more of a Red Cross like a helpful post end of the world, not end of the world, post transition of the world into a different state. All we're doing is helping in human form, right? It's not the terrible things that have happened to some of these people. And I just want people to know, like, please don't go SSP nail biter. It's all terrible. I've talked to other SSP people that have gotten their memories back that have fine. Like, yeah, it's terrible to die in another stage of my consciousness. Scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
But I also agreed to it. Right? I agreed to it in that reality. It's weird that I can see it in this one, but it doesn't define who I am anymore. But it allowed me to realize that the universe is a wonderful and fascinating place where we all exist in a lot of different ways than what we know.
Yep, I agree. I agree. Now we're going to take a quick break, but before we do, I thought I would again show this comment from Arizona Raven. And for those of you on audio, I'll just read it out. She says, I had one sleep contact that was okay. Mantis ant beings took me below, communicated telepathically. One time in Theta, was having a brain scan. Thoth, Thoth, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, came and communicated telepathically with me. So that is very, very interesting. Don, what do you have to say about that?
I've had some interesting interactions. Like, not everything I do transdimensionally or astrally, like I was saying, is terrifying. Like, I've had interactions with things that would horrify me if I saw them in this reality, but I'm just having a non-speaking conversation with them in other transdimensional realities, whatever, what have you. I still don't know what to call that yet. But like when I'm in a different stage of my consciousness, I'm not afraid of these things all the time. And like there are realities in which we gain information, work with, commune with, interact with all types of different types of beings from all different types of realities. So that is absolutely amazing that Arizona Raven is having that type of energetic interaction on some stage of her consciousness with Thoth or Thoth. I don't know how to say it either, but I know who it is. But no, absolutely, these higher
Everybody
stage
thrives when we have a mission,
beings,
and there is no greater mission than to become the change we wish to see in the world.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm just learning how to use this program, and I was trying to
No
queue
worries.
up the next little section, and it went off, and oh my goodness, I'm sorry about that. So Don, just
No,
say the last couple sentences again, so I can let you finish off respectfully.
no, it I was just saying, like, it's absolutely amazing because, like, we do, as soon as we accept that these are real stages of our consciousness, like you do with your lucid dreaming, you can actually have real life interactions. And I think it's absolutely wonderful that Arizona Raven is like having these interactions. And this is where I get my she just said, I feel like I much needed gnosis. Yeah, that's where a lot of my downloads come from, is when I sleep, right? I'll wake up and it's like, why do I know this? And I that's an amazing experience for Arizona Raven. I'm so happy for her because she's in touch with an ancient, and that's impressive.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. Now, we're going to go and just take a short break. I'm going to do a play a short promotion. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the relationship between aliens and angels. So hang on to your hats and we'll be right back.
Everybody thrives when we have a mission, and there is no greater mission than to become the change we wish to see in the world. Sometimes, though, we need a little help from consultation and support services. Have you discovered that this world is not what you thought it was? Have recent global events awakened you and leave you feeling unsettled? Do you feel isolated by your new, not so popular beliefs? It is a big shock to wake up and find that the old familiar world is gone. It can be disturbing to go down the various rabbit holes, only to find that the information is difficult to digest, and few people are willing to talk openly about it. Would you like to learn how to thrive in this new state of awareness? You are not a conspiracy theorist. You are awakening, and once you find your way through it, there are many blessings waiting on the other side. My name is Karen Holton, and I offer vital services that may be just what you need, and support for your journey into the weird and wonderful. Check out my awakening support and ascension consultation services, created to support individuals with their chosen alternative realities and lifestyles, health and recovery, and their spiritual adventures. For more details, check out the various vital services found on my website, and be assured that I have found personal success with every category featured. My website is www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. That's KarenHolton Healthcoach.com.
Yeah, it was kind of glitchy, but anyway, thank you, everybody.
Okay.
So just
Yeah, I
getting
was
back.
literally just saying this. I was
Sorry,
just
what?
saying to Spinner, is that on mine or hers? I was trying to see if it was my internet that was messing up.
It's mine. They recommend that I run an Ethernet cord to the modem, but that is such a big hassle and would involve drilling holes in the floor that I'm just not prepared to do that right now. So I'm working from Wi-Fi, and I think that is what the issue is. So just to catch up on the comments, let's go to see what Spin had to say. She said, I don't have specific memories, but I know something is off. I saw Donald Ledesme's
Ledesma.
documentary. Pardon?
Ledesma.
Okay, Ledesma's documentary, part 2. And some of the things he discussed is what I thought was normal. I have more questions now. And Arizona Raven says, I've been told I'm the descendant of an ascended master with an important job to do in this incarnation. And she also says, I woke up in my mid-30s, so 39 years ago, during an experiment. Needless to say, up and down my spine, two small grays called over a tall gray that poked at me inquisitively, and then out I went again. And then she says, I thought that was a dream till you actually had the needle marks. That's when I went into warrior mode. And she also adds that was 30 years ago. So that's really very, very interesting. Yeah, so it's hard to know. Are we dealing with aliens from other planets? Are we dealing with what we call aliens, but they're from here, subterranean or under the ocean? Are they working with human scientists? Well, we'll get into more of that next week. So I hope you'll all come back and share in the live chat and add to the conversation. So before we move on to aliens and angels, Don, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I was just gonna say in regards to Arizona Raven, it's very interesting because we've talked about our experience on the lunar eclipse, and we've also woken up with matching injection marks where they put your IV in a hospital as though we were laying in bed side by side, like side by each, and they had both of our IVs in the exact same spot on the hands that would have been beside each other. And it's like, okay, that's not just a mark. It's in the exact same spot. There's an IV bruise, and we both woke up with it. So absolutely, Arizona Raven, I do think there's more than one thing going on here.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. I would agree. So, from the research I've done and the experiences I've had, there's a very fine line, if any, between angels and extraterrestrials. Um, many ETs or aliens, as we loosely call them, are interdimensional. In my transdimensional experiences, all of my ET contacts are interdimensional. In fact, we meet in interdimensional space, which is like an overlap point between many different dimensions and realities. So it's easy for us just to go to the big ship, and then that's our meeting point where we have our experiences, do our jobs, get training, meet each other, socialize, all that kind of stuff. So then there are some extraterrestrials that I swear could be angels. Just their vibe was so powerful. They were so powerful, and they kind of kept to themselves. But then I also had an angelic visitation that was quite different again, where they were not embodied at all. They appeared as points of light. And what was interesting is not sure, spoke like 1,000 voices in perfect harmony as one voice. It was an amazing experience. So where do we draw the line? Don, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I actually have to kind of lead in with a question off of that because my current understanding and everything is always a working theory is that, okay, we came here from source, which means there's a high probability that angels and aliens are a stage of source consciousness, right?
Yes.
So are they literally part of the same thing that we are? Is that why we are able to, some of us that are aware of these densities and realities and things, why we can interact with them so easily, and are they just us in different stages of reality, density, existence, time?
Yep.
I,
Yep.
I seriously question if they're just different fractals of source as well. Now we know that there are some evil things that have been developed in the universe that are not part of source, but I do believe angels and aliens are highly probably one of them, and they're just an extension of ourselves. Because of hypnosis during a session, a higher stage of my consciousness is directly connected to Gabriel. They call it a fractal, right? Which means part of where I was in reality at some stage was a part of Gabriel, right? I'm not saying I'm Gabriel and I can channel it. No, I'm saying there's a piece of my consciousness that came from a higher consciousness that is related to that consciousness.
Yep.
That's so I think when we have situations and beings like angels and aliens, they are definitely closely related because they are just like us. We're just all in different avatars with
Yep.
different missions and jobs.
I would agree. And according to my training, all beings are undergoing soul evolution. They're all having physical or even transdimensional experiences as a way for Source to experience itself, for us to grow and learn. And it's all part of the same thing. So when I hear stories about extraterrestrials doing mean stuff to humans, I go, well, according to my guides and my training aboard the big ship, they're under the same rules and laws that we are. They are either evolving or they're not. And also there are some spirit groups, I'll call them spiritual groups, spirit groups, not spiritual in an earthly sense, and some extraterrestrials, and possibly even some that live here are uh, even indigenous somehow to Earth, that there are groups that have chosen to split off from Source. And they often use technology to do so. And when they split off from Source, they think they're independent and that they have their own form of sovereignty within that reality, but they don't. And apparently, there is a time where they're allowed to exist for a certain period of time for them to finally get it, that it's completely futile to try to exist detached from Source, that we are part of one giant phenomenon. You could think of it as being a being. We might be Horton. Here's a who so small we don't realize that the universe is actually a larger being. Like, we don't know, right? There's so much to talk about and think about, but that they are either attached or they've detached themselves from Source. And those that have detached themselves from Source, they cause a lot of trouble. I guess you could liken it to, and again, this is my opinion, some of the ruling classes here on Earth that think they know what's best for everybody. They're making all kinds of decisions that are life-changing events and things and technologies because they really think they know better. But no, they don't. And if they're disconnected from Source, they won't last. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to ramble. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Take it away, Don.
No, and I'm trying to not censor myself, but not throw out too many spoilers of the conversation. Well, the parts of the conversation that I want to have when we actually go into the simulation reality matrix, whichever one you want to call it, because a lot of it is directly related. And I'm just going to say, like, I've heard of good and bad in both and everything. And I also beg the question, on the energetic level, are some of these people drawing these negative people towards themselves because of the energy they themselves project? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Are you having a negative experience because you drew a negative entity towards you? That's another question. Are you in a bad vibration in your brain and you're allowing a little sliver of somewhere something else can vibrate in there? Because there are things just beyond our perception that I was alluding to that do have that ability as well, that currently think they're untouchable.
Yep, I would agree. Now, I'd also add to that there are certain things in the system or in the matrix that are perhaps causing people to be more susceptible. For instance, toxins in the air and the water and the food and all of that. You know what I mean? And also entertainment. Entertainment can really lower your vibrational frequency. And there's a lot of people that are addicted to the adrenaline rush they get from watching these really low frequency shows. Me, I can't handle it. I'm a complete I can't handle suspense. I can't handle violence. I can't handle a lot of that stuff. Every once in a while, I'll watch a science fiction movie that has some, an interesting plot and has some violence, but I just cringe. I can't take the intensity and I have to switch it off. I just can't watch it. So, and then I have to neutralize it with, the same amount of time listening to binaural beats or 432 frequency or relaxation music to get myself back into balance. So I'm very energetically aware. But so I think there are things that people aren't even consciously, but then that takes us back to the conversation of what do we sign up for before we even come to Earth? So it's just huge topics here.
Oh, yeah, and even on the whole principle of angels and aliens itself, okay, if you go further down that rabbit hole, we create reality, right?
Yeah.
So where did they come from? Who made who? Okay, are we the direct source connection that created our reality, or are they? Are we the super intelligent being that has full control of this universe, or are they? These are the questions that I know you, me, I think Stephen from BG Cast and Jen Helkham are coming as well.
Yes.
It's going to be a show because I'm already in the middle of writing a thesis on this whole subject.
Yeah.
So,
That's why I had to split it into 3 different shows. So it'll be on the 3rd Wednesday of every month, starting in June, July, and August, where we'll get together and we'll discuss these things because it's huge. And so anyway, yeah. So we've got 5 of us coming together once a month. Sorry, Dawn, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, I was kind of hoping you would give the further explanation because, like, it seems like a lot of these subjects get touched on, but never really given the full. I don't have a non-gruesome word, like a full autopsy. Like nobody sits and does like a 4-part series on the complexities of a matrix reality and whether or not you would need a simulator the size of the whole universe to simulate the universe so it's impossible. It's going to be a wonderful discussion, and I know we can actually even incorporate angels and aliens into it because I already have a sub theory on that. But I love the direction that all of this is going.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm totally geeky when it comes to this stuff, which is why I plan it. And we had a 4-part series that just ended. It was also the 3rd Wednesday of every month. So please do check out my channel and look at my videos and go back and watch these series because they're very interesting. And the panel members are all very intelligent and they just add amazing things. So the last panel we did was a 4-part series and it was all about light and shadow work and it was really stimulating. So then the next 3 months are going to be all about simulation theory, but more than that, how to harness simulation theory and make it work for you, kind of like a wild horse, learning to tame that thing and get on its back and ride and get what you want, right? So I'm pretty excited about that. Now I just want to quickly go back to the chat here. So Canadian Spin just said, for those of you on audio, those things have been hovering, waiting for an opportunity to seep in. They were trying me quite intensely last week. I wore the pentagram orgone necklace you gave me, and that helped so much. So, that's really nice of you to say that, Canadian Spinge. I'm really glad that it helped you. Yeah, I sent some orgone generators to Canadian Spinja and Don Rogers to help them with their journey, to use for protection and to use for purifying their energy and their field around them. And it's really nice to hear the positive feedback. And for those of you who are interested in orgone generators, please check out my website and see what I have still available. And and that's sweet. Look at what Arizona Raven said. Don, you should do an ad for Karen's products. Oh, Don does ads for my products all the time. He's been absolutely flipping amazing, and it's been very nice to be so well supported. And Canadian Spin just says he has love. He puts them on the end of quite a few of his shows, and I think some of mine too. And an Arizona Raven says, "Oh," and she looks very happy about that. So thank you guys, and thank you for participating in the chat. Oh, Canadian Spinja also added, "I have a couple with me at work too." So yeah, so I'm really glad to hear that they're helping, because that's the reason I have them is they've helped me so much, and I assumed that they would help other people. What's interesting is people who do not have a strong spiritual vibe, they kind of look at them as being pretty ornaments, possibly functional to help transmute the EMF frequencies. But those that have a spiritual bent definitely get an extra kick out of them. So that's pretty cool. I'm really happy about that. So yeah, so that's pretty good. Now we're coming to the end of the show, but we got a little bit more time yet. Don, what were you saying, and would you like to add to the conversation?
I kind of forgot what I was saying again. I am not having a good day today. Um, shoot.
It's okay.
I can tell you what I got coming up.
Yeah, tell us what you got coming up.
Well, like I mentioned off the start, the After Dark show with me, Don Rogers, got picked up by Forbidden Knowledge News, the network, and so what I'm going to be doing is my very first live for my show, the After Dark show with Frank Castle, the neo shaman from New York City, and he is also a frequent high vibrational frequency musician. I think I said that right. And he's absolutely fascinating to chat with. Spin's actually going to be manning the chat during that if people want to chime in, because if you have never heard Frank Castle talk, you have been under a rock and missing something, because this guy is going to mess your head up.
Yeah.
So absolutely, if you guys want to catch that on Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern.
8 p.m. Eastern. Wonderful. Yeah, I love Frank Castle. He's just got such a juicy mind. It's just and such a wonderful way of talking about what he experiences and what he knows. And I find it very upbuilding to my confidence to hear him talk. So I'm really glad you're going to have him on the show. That's awesome. I had him on the Quantum Guide show. He and KG, the two of them are the ones who formed Sons of the Sun. And we talked all about their music history and their experiences in the music industry and Sons of the Sun. Unfortunately, I got two copyright strikes. Frank said, "I don't get it. Other people play his music and do not get copyright strikes." But like I mentioned, YouTube, for some reason, really has me under a microscope right now. And so we're trying to get that sorted out. Yeah, so Spin would agree with me. She says, "Frank is awesome. I love listening to him. I actually heard him for the first time, oh, on one of my shows." Cool. So yeah, so you've got the After Dark that comes out every Friday night, that podcast at 8 p.m. Eastern, right?
Yeah, I'm going to try to shoot for that, I think.
And will you be doing any review shows of the Typical Skeptic and Forbidden Knowledge News? Is that coming up too?
It's coming back. Yeah, those are just going to stay on my channel for now. Chris and I haven't talked about putting those on the network or anything. But yeah, those are going to be coming back. I just had too much in my head to sift through to do everything at once. I had to pause my watching of podcasts for a week or two so I could research what I wanted to about the Matrix reality and upcoming shows. But yeah, I love watching The Typical Skeptic. I love binge watching Forbidden Knowledge. So I am going to be bringing both of the review shows back up to speed very shortly. I just have a few other things I got to shake out of the fire first.
Oh yeah, I totally understand. Plus, you're going through your awakening process. You know, I mean, I went through the deepest part of my awakening process was like 2006, and I'm still adjusting to it. So, you know, you basically had your experiences in September just of last year. So, yeah, you're doing super rapid growth for sure. So no, no worries and no pressure. Whenever the shows come out, I just want to let the listening audience know about it so that they can keep their eye open and hopefully go and subscribe to your channel so that they don't miss anything. And that was sort of where I was going with that. But you know, the thing with making podcasts is there are times where you just can't do it and you spend time doing research. Usually what I do is I binge watch and when I'm binge watching and stuff, I'm going, oh man, I'd love to have that person on as guest or that person on as guest, you know. And then when we feel stronger again and we can face the public again, we get on and we do a bunch of podcasts. And sometimes we don't have time to even watch each other's shows because we're so busy creating content. So it's kind of like a spirit-led movement, I would say. What do you think, Dawn, with a balance between self-care and doing service for others?
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I was trying to help people. I hope I said it right earlier. Like, if you are having your awakening or anything with the SSP, please don't go at it the way I did, because I actually was asked by my partner, like, are you coming back to reality? Because it consumed me for quite a while, right? I
Yeah.
mean, weeks on end. I just could not get my head out of it. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating. I wasn't even here, right? It's only a piece of your consciousness. It's only a piece of you. It's
Yeah.
not you. You're gonna be okay. Just go back to being yourself. Don't ignore it. Please don't think I'm saying ignore it, but still be yourself and find who you are together with your new understanding of what's going on around you. Don't just jump into it and think this is who you are now, because it's not. You're still who you were. You're still who you love inside of yourself, and you still you are who you know you are.
Yeah. The only thing I would add to that is remember that you are sovereign within your own sphere. And your sphere is as big as the energy that you can produce, the frequency that you can hold. So it can be quite large. And you are sovereign. So if there's anything, whether it's thoughts that come into your mind, experiences, paranormal, anything, you have a right to say, get the hell out of my sphere. I will not allow you in. You are not going to participate in my reality. And other things you can say, oh man, I'm so glad I got a visit from Granny. Granny, please come back and share your wisdoms with me. Like, you have complete control and complete say. And I think that's really important. I think that's more important. Those are internal boundaries. I think they're just as important, if not more important, than having holy water or certain crystals or doing certain energy works. I think that your intention is ever so powerful. And yeah, I just want to share one more comment from Canadian Spinja. She says, I find I go through phases. For a while, I was deep diving this stuff. Now I'm focusing on how to heal and maneuver. I listen to podcasts about homesteading day in and day out too. So yes, it's a balance between self-care and sharing with the world, sharing our gifts and what we've learned with the world. I think that is really the trick, finding that balance. So on that happy note, we are pretty much out of time. Don, do you want to just quickly say where people can reach you?
Oh, yeah. My stuff, like you said, is on YouTube. That's where most of my videos are uploaded right away, is on YouTube. It's March 4th Productions. It's the number 4TH. And Karen brought to my attention that you actually do have to put my name in it because it wasn't an original name, I guess. So it's March 4th Productions. And if you got to throw in Don Rogers, that's where you'll find all of the shows. Upcoming, you'll be able to find the After Dark show with me on the Forbidden Knowledge Network and all of the platforms that'll be on. Chris said the first episode, which was with my very first episode with Christy Campbell when she did my SSP remote viewing reading for me. So it's a very interesting episode. It's almost 2 hours long, and you're going to want to have some popcorn.
Wonderful.
It's interesting.
Wonderful. And I want to thank the people who met us live in the chat today. Thank you for adding to our program. I really appreciate you. Hope you'll come back next week. Bring your friends. Share this video with your friends and encourage them to come back, because it's going to be a lively discussion next week. And I guess that's about it. So before we exit, just going to say goodbye and thank you to all the listeners and the viewers. And Dawn, thank you for joining me for the first Q&A and Aliens and Angels podcast. Most appreciated. Okay, bye everybody. For joining me for the Aliens and Angels podcast.
See, this is the
Become
part
the
I don't
change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube and other channels at Karen Holton TV. Click the like button, leave me a comment, and share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you will also find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton on all audio platforms. A very special thank you to Andy Gambino and Anthony Exemplar from the Unidentified S4 channel for creating the beautiful introduction for this podcast. Until next time, keep up the good work.